All right, we're back for another episode of the House Podcast. I am Josh Handler with Team Handler over at Exit Realty Premier. If you're looking to buy or sell your house, have any questions regarding selling your home, basic questions, give me a call, risk-free, no obligation, 516-732-6398. All right, let's get into it. Actually, let's get into it this way.
Oh boy. What's happening? Oh shit! Did you sit on that thing?
I don't even know where it was. I just found it.
Where did you get that?
This I got out of my closet. I think it's my wife's. All right. But anyway, if you already...
She has great taste. I love her. In men, in hats, all of it.
All of it. So in case you don't know whose voice this is, I'm going to give you the intro. Yeah, okay, welcome everybody. This is the episode of the... All right, let me take this hat off and get serious now. All right. So he goes by multiple names. We're going to go with the first name, Charles Weinraub, a.k.a. Captain Permit, a.k.a. Handsome Homebuyer, which should have been first, so let's start that over. Charles Weinraub, a.k.a. the Handsome Homebuyer, a.k.a. Captain Permit, a.k.a. El Judío Maravilloso.
I'm fucking impressed, bro.
I studied that for a little bit.
I'm impressed. Levy's literally doing the podcast twice a week, and he can't get it.
Yeah, I said I got to make sure we get this right. You had the Spanish on a couple days ago on yours. She would put me to shame if I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
So Laura would probably shit on me, so I made sure I got that down.
I actually have a girl coming on next week, and she salsa dances. I saw her put a video up, and I'm like, that's it, it's on. We are salsa dancing on the podcast.
That's fucking amazing. So, yeah, everybody, welcome Charles. If you didn't know him before, one of the biggest fix and flip investors, I would say, on Long Island.
Yep.
We've done, luckily, I've met you. We did a couple deals that we're in the process of doing right now.
Yep.
And honestly, I started this podcast mainly because of you.
Nice.
So
I'm glad I could inspire in
absolutely.
I'm sure you had it in your mind, like I got to do this. And sometimes you're there and you just need someone to give you like that little.
You need like that push to be
that last push.
All right, do I go for it or like not go for it?
Just go for it. Go for all of it.
Yeah. So literally, when you first started, I guess I was really never big into like social media. Then I started following you like a couple months ago. Then I was like, you know what? You made a lot of good points here. Let me start doing Instagram. Let me start doing all this stuff. And then I was like, you know what? To really do it properly, I was at the point where I don't have the time, luckily, that I'm busy enough with work to literally do everything correctly.
It's a lot of work.
Just a random post could take you like a half hour to make. I was like sitting on my phone for a half hour. I was like, this is crazy. And it would still look like garbage.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. So then I reached out to Juliana. We got her working for us. And then because of you, I started, all right, let's do the podcast. Let's start doing all like these. And then with Dan O'Neill, I was like, oh, this kid's hilarious with his videos. Let's start doing funny videos and all the stuff and start making a big, community.
So how long have you been like full blown into doing the podcast, all that stuff?
I would say
2-3 months.
Yeah, like 2-3 months.
Have you noticed a difference in that short period of time?
I think so far we get more, I would say more like, people like liking posts, people more engagement.
Okay.
So hopefully down the line that's going to turn into,
What about in the real estate
deals.
community as far as like, do you feel that you're more known in the last 3 months in the real estate community in general?
Yeah, I can literally see it just in my office in general.
Yeah.
I very rarely even come to the office, so I really don't see a lot of the agents in the office. So now I come to the office and they're like, oh, I saw your video, that was hilarious, or I listened to your podcast the other day.
Yeah.
So I figure with the whole podcasting, it's just like you said, you do it more for just the people that you get to interact with.
Yeah.
And learn something from. And literally, me doing that, I literally was able to now, when I make an offer, I feel like a lot more people know you. And sometimes that gives you the edge of getting an accepted offer.
No, without a doubt. I mean, podcasting is so awesome on so many different levels. A, it's content that goes out there. People learn from it. They listen to it. You could chop it up and make it into more content. And B, like you were saying before, it gives you the opportunity to meet people that you otherwise would never come into contact with. Like,
right.
I've had people on my show that I would never have met them. They'd be like, they would never want to meet for coffee or lunch or anything like that, but they've never had this experience. So like, yeah, I'll try that out. That's cool. Especially the older generation, like they think it's really cool. They're like, oh, this is really cool what you kids are doing.
The older generation love it. We were doing a photo shoot in like a coffee house in Babylon. There's this old lady. She probably was in like her 70s. Mm-hmm. And we literally were taking photos, and she comes up to us, what are you guys doing? We're like, we're taking photos for Instagram. We do a podcast, this and that. She goes, what's a podcast? We start talking to her. The funniest old lady I've probably ever met. She was like, I need to come on your podcast. So I was like, okay. So like 2 weeks ago, maybe like a month ago, we brought her on as a guest.
Who like is she anything in real estate, or she's just
Nothing real
randomly?
estate. Random lady that teaches how to play the piano.
Probably has great stories though.
Hilarious stories.
Old people have great stories.
Dude, you got to listen to it. She was literally telling us how she would go to like acting things and put on her pasties and push-up bras, and like it was a wild podcast.
I guess you were witness to that, huh?
Yes.
Something about an 80-year-old lady talking.
Podcast with her like 3 days ago because she was so into it, and now she wants to do it like weekly.
There you go.
Yeah.
Something about an 80-year-old lady talking about pasties is just.
It definitely wasn't like the best. It wasn't the best topic to talk about, but it was hilarious coming out of her mouth.
Definitely hilarious.
But it just shows you like and then them. She had a friend. She sent them to me she sent it to us at the bank to do their refinance. So just from being there, got us a deal.
That's exactly how it is.
Literally, it's just being out there.
That's exactly what it is, man.
You know, and the whole thing with like Ryan Serhant. I don't know if you know Ryan Serhant, right? So his big thing was when he first started, like he had nobody, no money, nobody to talk to, and no clients. He said, I'm going to talk to 3 random people a day because you never know who you're going to talk to, and you never know their story, or maybe they have somebody. So literally, like my goal is to talk to like 3 random people a day and see what happens.
That's interesting. I didn't know he did that, but that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, he's like, it could be as simple as just giving a compliment on somebody. Hey, I love your outfit today. It starts the conversation, and it could end right there. Or you get the people that, hey, thanks, man. Oh, what do you do for a living? Blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, you're talking real estate, and it's like, I'm looking to potentially sell my house, or I'm looking to buy a new home.
100%.
And you never know. So it really made a lot of sense when he did that, and that's how he really started.
Yeah, the more people you know, the better off you are. Because listen, we're all so interconnected. None of us can do anything alone. In order to get, and there's no such thing as self-made. I always say that. You need people to help you get wherever it is that you're going to go.
Right.
And if you're not out there selflessly helping people, they're not going to want to selflessly help you.
Yeah. So talking about the self-made part, we'll dive back a little bit for the people that maybe never heard of you. Somehow, I don't know how that's possible at this point.
I'm sure there's many.
Give us a little background, for the people, the quick version of
quick and dirty,
how the Handsome Homebuyer came about.
So when I was 23, I opened up a body shop franchise called Mako, like better get Mako on TV.
Okay.
In Hempstead. So I ran that for 10 years, but when I didn't really like it. So it was very interesting. It taught me a lot about standard operating procedure. I ran my own business. I always say I grew up in Hempstead because I grew up in Wanto, which is a very sheltered place.
Right.
And, I love my parents. They gave me so much. And sometimes I say to them, listen, I really wish you gave me a lot less. I wasn't spoiled, but I mean, listen, you grew up in the South Shore of Long Island, Wanto, Merritt, Belmore, et cetera.
Right.
We're upper middle class
for
the country. Did you go to camp?
Camp?
Yeah.
Nah, not really. Wasn't
You're
a
Jewish,
camp,
right?
Well, yeah, we're Jewish friends.
Dude, it goes hand in hand. Jews go to camp. That's what we do.
Yeah, I'll go like memorial camp, like not like real like sleepaway camp.
So in any event, I had the greatest parents in the world. And because of that, I grew up in Hempstead because only in those like high pressure, just, running a business, dealing with taxi owners, all this stuff kind of thrown to the wolves in my early 20s did I really grow up. But I didn't really like it. So when I was 27, somebody gave me the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Great book.
I recommend everybody read it.
Everyone should read that book, regardless of like what business you're in, if you're a business person or not.
Dude, it's super. You should give it to your kids in high school. I wish they would have given that to us instead.
That's
of
a book
we were learning.
We should read it in high school, 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's it. I'm going to be a professional investor. And I'm like, all right, well, what the hell does that mean? How do I start from there? So first I'm like, it's going to be stocks. And it's just not my shtick. It's, listen, a lot of people make a lot of money in the stock market. It's just, I'm not wired that way. I think you need to have a little of like a gambler mentality. And I'm not like that.
Not a risk taker like that.
Not a risk taker like that.
Like that.
Not really. And it's interesting. People look at what I do and they'll be like, yo, you're a crazy risk taker. But when you really look at what I'm doing,
it's a numbers game though.
There's a lot of preparation that goes into it. There's years and years of studying and preparation that lead up to where you could pull the trigger super fast.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, it's going to be real estate. So how do I get into that? So NYU had a one-day course in foreclosures. This is like 2010, 2011.
They still do that? Or
NYU does 1, 3, 5-day intensives and master's degrees, all kinds of stuff. So I went there because everybody, when they get into real estate, they assume that banks are just giving houses away.
Yeah.
Just giving them away. You want to flip houses or buy rentals, the banks are just giving them away.
Yeah.
You quickly learn that's not the case.
You quickly learn it's the total opposite, and they're completely overpriced.
150%. So while I'm there, the teacher says you should join the local RIA. So RIA stands for Real Estate Investment Association. I joined the one East Coast RIA in Levittown. I met my mentor, Carl Chavone. And then I trained with him for almost 4 years
That's a crazy amount of time.
before I was ready to go do a deal. Then it took me a year just to get a deal.
And now, was that because you thought, like, if you walked into a house, you would have no idea what you're really looking at, where you needed, like, that full 4 years of learning, okay, it's going to cost me X amount of money to do this, X amount of money to do that, before, like, you felt comfortable moving on something?
There's so many parts of the process that you really have to understand. And the thing that held me up at the end was the construction costs. That was the hardest part, because it's like, listen, you're going to borrow hundreds of thousands of dollars from people, and it's not yours.
Right.
And you can't fuck up, bro. You can't. You can't fuck up. I mean, it's your reputation. It's potentially the first deal could be the last deal that you do. You have to make sure that you're prepared.
Right.
And it's going to work. So that's why it took so much time.
So what made you start at Mako? Like, what made you want to buy a Mako?
So my father owned another Mako in Brooklyn, and Mako in Hempstead, which is what I had, it was already set up and went out of business.
Okay.
So it required very little money to get into it. And he's like, listen, I found this thing. I'm going to loan you $50,000. It was like that. He's like, I'm going to loan you $50,000. You're never going to get this opportunity again. It's already set up. You're going to be able to buy the building once it takes off. And fear of regret being the biggest motivator in life, I borrowed the money and I went into it. And he just, again, he kind of like threw me to the wolves.
Right.
And I grew up in Hempstead, and ultimately it became successful. But I never loved it. It was never what I wanted to do.
When you were working there, did he still have the one in Brooklyn, or did
He had the one in Brooklyn. Yeah, he didn't really work with me ever.
Okay.
You know, later on, like years down the road, he would come in the afternoon, hang out a little bit. But at the beginning, he was like threw me to the wolves.
Gotcha. And when you sold yours, did he end up did he sell his?
He sold his a few years later. At that point, I did it for 10 years. He was in the business for 25 years.
So you still did it for 10 years, even though you really hated it.
I did it for 10 years.
It just wasn't your style.
It wasn't my thing. You know what it is? It was, I would say at that point, I wanted to rebrand Mako. I have a problem with authority. And when you have, even though if you have a franchise, it's your own business.
Right, but you still have to be in the lines.
Exactly. And I have a real problem with that. So I wanted to rebrand Mako and do my own thing because I felt I could do it better. But even though he wasn't there in the day-to-day and he was essentially like a passive investor, I still couldn't do the things I wanted to do because he was like overbearing.
Right.
Not in a bad way, but you know, that was his thing. So I got to a certain point where I said, you know what? I just have to move on and do my own thing. So I started training in real estate. I did 2 deals the first year while I had the Mako. As soon as that happened, I put the Mako up for sale.
Made money the first 2 deals?
Yeah, I've made money on every deal.
Every deal.
Yes. That's what happens when you prepare.
Dude, not a lot of people. I would love to know the percentage of investors that say I've made money on every single deal that I've ever bought.
You have to prepare, man. That's the thing. And people look at me. They always say to me, like, Charles, I want to do what you do. I want to flip 1 million houses a year, or 3 or 5 or 10 or whatever it is. And like, how do you do it? I'm like, I'm going to give you the answer. And they get all excited, like, yes. I said, you're going to join East Coast RIA. You're going to train with a man named Carl Chavone. It's going to take you at least a year of hardcore, like 30 hours a week grinding on top of your regular job. And then hopefully you'll be ready and you'll go out and do it. And they look at me like,
totally change your mind.
It's not they change their mind. They're just like giving me like the F you. They're
right.
like, fuck you, dude. Like you just, I was so excited. Like you're about to, people when they meet me, they think that I'm going to bless them with this piece of knowledge that's just going to set them free,
right,
and allow them to just be successful investing. What they don't realize is it's thousands and thousands and thousands of hours getting educated, building relationships. Like I'm obsessed with it.
You have to be. I mean, that's part of the reason why, the podcast even started, like the whole relationship thing. You meet so many people by doing this that I would have never in a million years ever reached out to.
Yeah, no doubt.
Ever.
But there's a lot of sacrifice that comes along with that. So I'm 41 years old. I'm not married. I don't have any kids. I went through like a horrible, I would say, sort of divorce. That's a different story for another time. But the emotional trauma from that actually fueled my ascent in real estate. So, there was a lot of like hardcore just emotion that I needed to channel into something.
Right.
And I would say that actually really, helped my career in a lot of ways. But there's a lot that you give up.
Yeah.
And if you look at a lot of the people out there that are like hyper successful in the space, they all have a similar story. Like when I was at NYU getting my master's, a lot of my professors that were very, very, very successful people, they were divorced. Some of their kids hated their guts because they were just obsessed with what they did. So you have to really figure out like what kind of life do you want to have?
Right. When did you know that after the first couple houses, when did you know like this is like I love this, like I'm gonna
It was the first house.
the first house you knew like
So
I'm in.
The cool thing about the first house story quickly is I didn't have any money. So I had met my dad's friend was a stockbroker, and he knew a guy that was a chiropractor, but he's also an investor. And he said, listen, you want to invest in real estate? I'll introduce you to this guy. So he introduced me, and he's like, kid, this isn't a good idea. It's like, this is not what you should be doing. The market just tanked. You know, just you have a business, you make money at it. Just stay there.
Right.
Just stay there and do what you want to do. So I didn't listen. And then I found this deal. And I'm like, listen, I got this deal. I'm going to buy it for X. I'm going to renovate it for Y. And I'm going to sell it for Z.
Where was the first one?
Massapequa Park.
Okay.
Linwood Place.
And now is that because you're a Wanto guy, you're comfortable in Massapequa, so it was your first time, or it just so happened that's where it was?
Just so happened that's where it was.
All right.
So it's called the Westwood Cape. It's one of those capes that has the Jack and Jill bathroom set up upstairs.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's like, kid, this isn't going to work out. Like, you're not going to get the number you think. You're not going to be able to renovate for that number, and you're overpaying.
Right.
So I bought it anyway, raised money, bought it anyway, and I literally bought it for X. I renovated for literally like Y on the dot.
On the dot.
And then I'll never forget it. I was having brunch, and my girlfriend, fiance, whatever at the time, she became a realtor, and she called me, and she said, we just sold Linwood for $415. And at that moment, which was literally...
Was that your number?
That was the number. And I was like, proof of concept. So I called him up, and I was like, yo, I did it. And he was like, you got lucky. That was his response was, you got lucky. Let me see you do it again. And I did it. I did it again. And then now he's one of my biggest investors.
I was about to say, is he an investor to this day?
Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah, I was about to say he ran with that train for the rest of its
without a doubt. Now he's like, whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, I'm a believer. But there's going to be a lot of people that are going to tell you you're not going to be able to do it. But there was a lot of preparation that led up to that point, man.
I feel like the people that tell you can't do it, kid, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I can, and I'm going to show you I can.
I like that. That's motivating for me. But
Yeah.
there's still a lot of preparation. Like, people don't get it. You can't just go out there and buy a house. And today it's very easy. You can go out and buy an overpriced REO.
Right.
You get 90% of the purchase price and 100% of the rental costs covered by one of these hard money lenders.
Right.
And you can get yourself in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, a lot of trouble. I mean, people don't really know what they're looking at. These first-time investors, you're putting you're putting in offers for other investors, and like they're not even in the ballpark because they have these newbies that are offering $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 over what they really should be, and it's crazy.
Bro, I buy anywhere from 70 to 110 houses a year.
You heard that, people? 70 to 110 a year.
Like, for real, not wholesaling. We buy them, we gut them, we renovate them. And I haven't bought a house that was listed on the market in years.
all off market.
All off market stuff. Years.
So for somebody, we'll talk about that for a second. Now, what is your main, obviously you're going to tell us probably, you have to do it multiple ways, but what is your, say, top 3 items that you do well that get you most of your deals?
I would say the number one, like to your point before, it's everything.
Right.
But the number one thing is networking and relationships. The more people that you know that like you, that enjoy doing business with you, that see that you do the right thing, when they get something, they're going to call you. For example, like you and I have a great relationship. We're friends. We collaborate. We bring each other up. We put each other in the spotlight, right? To help each other. I mean, you're a great agent. You're doing 30, 40, 50 plus deals a year. How many houses that stink like cat pee and death are you going to come across every year?
Yeah, not many.
Maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe.
Yeah.
But if I have relationships with thousands of people, I mean, there aren't thousands of Josh Hamlers. There's like a 0.5%, like there's 28,000 realtors. You're in the top 0.5%.
Right.
So 28,000, was that 2,800 is 280. Well,
yeah, whatever it is.
You know what I'm saying? Basically, if I have relationships with hundreds and hundreds, not thousands of people,
right,
I'll do a volume of deals.
Do you see more of them come from realtors, or more people are calling you because they've seen you somewhere, or they've seen your sign on one of the houses that you're doing?
It's really everything.
Yeah.
People like to say, oh, what's the one thing I can do? There isn't just one thing you can do. It's everywhere. It's the advertising, it's realtors, it's relationships, it's attorneys, it's the most random shit. I had a dude hit me up on Instagram who's like, listen, man, I want to sell you my father's house, and he gave me an insane price on it. He said,
in a good way or bad way?
In a good way.
Okay.
He's like, I really appreciate everything you do. I've answered a couple questions for him.
Right.
just he hit me up and he's like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about it? He goes, I really appreciate all the content and the help. I thank you for that. I'm going to sell you my father's house for an insanely cheap price because I want to thank you. And I know that he would be happy that you do a really good job and revive it for the neighborhood.
That gotta feel awesome when people say
Fucking
that.
awesome.
Yeah.
But stuff like that happens all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Believe it or not, stuff like that happens all the time.
I would really never think that anybody would honestly be like, oh yeah, I like what you're doing. You know, I appreciate it. I'm gonna sell you this because of that.
Without a doubt. But again, we're talking about thousands of hours of consistent, when nobody else is looking, doing the right thing. I have this new text platform. I'm going to plug this thing over
Yeah, let's
here.
plug it.
Hold on. What's my text number? So I have this new text platform on Community. It is for everybody out there, 516-871-3511. So what is a text platform? This is just one thing. This is one of like 50 different things that I do. Mm-hmm. This is why, it's hard. Like if you have a wife and a family and all this stuff, it's hard to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I put the text number out there. Anybody can text me at any time, and every day I spend like a half an hour just replying to people's texts. They ask me all kinds of things about permits, development, investing, whatever it is. It's always me answering. I give you an honest answer. And in the last like week that I've done it, I've helped one guy buy his first flip property. Another guy hit me up last night. He's like, bro, you saved me $13,000 on a heating system in my Section 8 because now I'm putting electric baseboard in.
That's awesome.
Instead, and I'm making more money from Section 8. Thank you. That kind of stuff. So when no one's looking, when I'm sitting in my office just replying to these people for no other reason than just help them.
Right. That goes a long way.
That goes a long way. And I get to meet people. Like I'm getting hit up by like cool commercial agents, people I've never known. Like one day I'm going to get a deal that comes out of that.
Right. Well, that's the thing that separates you from a lot of other people. A lot of people really just see it as a dollar sign. If there's no money to be made, they don't want to lend that hand.
Yeah.
They don't want to lend that time because their time they think is too valuable.
Yeah.
But the people that are willing to answer that phone call where they really don't need to, it shows something about, one, that investor themselves, or whoever, if it's not an investor, who's answering.
Yep.
And you never know what it's going to lead to down the line, if it leads into something or not.
I take every phone call, every meeting. Now it's getting a little bit harder because there's just so many demands on my time. Like you start to get to the point where it's not super scalable and you do the best you can. But there are people that are cool. Like I get 6-8 DMs texts a day like, hey, I want a mentor. Hey, would you mentor me? Hey, can you meet up and have coffee? I literally can't meet everybody.
Yeah.
So I would never get anything done.
Did you ever think about like having like a class type of thing where you could pay whatever if it went that route, where you could follow me for literally like a week of my day to day? Like you're literally just gonna be a ghost, and you're just gonna sit in the chair next to me wherever I go. If it's to a vacant piss house, or if it's to shit floating past the steps, or you're doing Captain Permit stuff. Like, did you ever think about somebody that would just don't say anything unless you could ask your questions? We'll block out an hour at the end of the day, write down all your questions throughout the day, and I'll hit you with all of them at the end. You're literally just gonna follow me.
I wouldn't do it because it's still too much of a disruption, and it would just
Takes you out of your flow.
Yeah, there's so much stuff I have to do, and we're in this phase of like insane growth. Like we're gonna double in size in the next 3 to 6 months.
Are you moving offices?
Yeah, I'm looking for a place. I'm looking to buy like an industrial building that part of it I'm gonna turn into my office, and the rest of it I'm gonna rent out. So I'm looking for one. But we're just doing insane content creation. I just put Levy on full time. He's with me Monday through Friday.
How has that been since you went full time with like your own personal like
Game changer?
Because I know you had Matt our visual, right?
Yeah. So I started. Content is, dude, the most important thing.
Yeah, agreed.
So, Matt Our Visual, I dip my toe in the water, maybe like my whole foot in the water. Matt Our Visual was working with me a half a day a week. So he was giving me like 7 or 8 good pieces of content. So we would do a vlog, a podcast, 3 micro pieces of content. He'd give me some thumbnails and stuff. And then I would fill it in with my stuff. And I noticed a difference.
On his stuff and your stuff.
Well, no, when I started working with him, I noticed a difference. Like the stuff that
okay.
you're doing now, I started
Right.
getting more traction. People are like, oh, I really like what you're doing, et cetera, et cetera. And then I did that for like a year test run with him. And then I realized I got to add more gas to this. Like I got to add more fuel to the fire.
Right.
So at that point, I had proof of concept. Like I don't just dive into something. I always test the waters out. So at that point, I had proof of concept. So I'm like, okay, now I need a full-time person. So I found Levy. I got a referral through JB Bolvedin.
Okay.
And I hired Levy, and he's been with me for 6 weeks, and it is a freaking game changer.
Yeah.
We are cranking it.
I mean, he puts out some good. I mean, the stuff looks great quality. I'm always
amazing.
talking to Juliana. I'll tell her, be like, yo, did you see what Handsome just put up? Like, we need to do stuff like that. I was like, that looks awesome.
He's a brilliant guy, super, super talented. You know, I love being in front of the camera. I love sharing everything. There's no filter. In order to do this like the right way, in my opinion, you got to be you.
Yeah.
You can't hold back because people are always going to sense it. And even if it's not consciously, it's subconsciously, and they're not going to respond to you the same way if you're trying to sell them something.
100%. And I feel like when people aren't themselves, like you said, you could tell 100% that that person's being fake.
Yeah.
And then if you can't tell on the video, when you meet them for the first time, you're going to be like, this has... Where's the person that I just saw in that video?
Yeah. The biggest compliment I've gotten through this whole process is now that I'm putting out a ton of content, it's weird. Some people they'll call me up and they're like, bro, like, what are you trying to be, a movie star, this and that? And then some of them get it, some of them don't. But when I meet people, the biggest compliment I've been getting recently is, oh, you're the same guy. So like when you meet me in person, I'm the same guy that you see on a video, that you'll see in a TV ad, that you'll see on a panel, wherever.
Right.
That you'll see on a podcast. I'm the same person all the time.
That's very important. I mean, a lot of, like we said, you're going to get who you see. You know, you're not putting on some facade.
But a lot of people are.
A lot of people do.
A lot of people are putting on a show. So I've been working with Levy. He's extremely talented. We're cranking it. And after a week of working with Levy,
is he with you full time? Like
he's with me.
Wherever your day is, he's with you.
He's there. He's not shooting all the time because the thing that really takes a lot of time, and Juliana will attest to this, is the editing.
Yeah.
The editing. So think about it. So they're filming us. Then they have to watch it all again. God bless their hearts. They have to watch it. And then they have to do all the graphics and the this and the that and, you know, and the copy on it. It's a lot of work. So after the first week with Levy, I said to myself, oh, this isn't enough. We need more people. He was maxed out. After the first week, he was maxed out. Now, we're putting out a lot of stuff. We're putting out like 3 to 5 unique posts per platform a day plus stories. So we're really putting out...
That's a shitload.
And some of the stuff is doubled up or used slightly different ways. We're putting out between like 50 and 75 pieces of content a day. And
what has been your number one platform of response?
TikTok is a crazy thing.
So I don't have TikTok. I was looking into TikTok.
I
don't have TikTok. How is TikTok?
Let me tell you about TikTok. So I've posted like 70 videos on TikTok. They all have like 3 views. I post this one video on TikTok. It was right when they were coming out saying that Trump doesn't pay any taxes.
Right.
So I did an educational video.
I think I remember this.
How Trump legally avoids paying taxes. That video got 175,000 views in like a week. Crazy.
That's wild.
So TikTok, nuts. So TikTok, but after that, like the next video, 3 views. So it's really interesting to see in this day and age, you could post one video. You're one video away from blowing up.
It only takes one. Yeah.
Only takes one.
Sorry. Zillow.
It's only one. You're one video away from blowing up. So I'm on all the platforms. So I have videos on TikTok. I tweet. I have.
You use Twitter?
I do use Twitter. Yes.
Anything? Or
I don't have a lot of followers on Twitter. I do all of them consistently.
Okay.
It's a lot of work. Like if you want to do this the right way, I was talking to Levy about the other day. Actually, even the first week, I said we need a team of 3 to 5 people to do this properly. To do this properly, you need a team of 3 to 5 people.
Taking the video and the photos and editing and being able to post on every platform and
just posting is a lot of work. So I post every day like 8, 8:30, 12 o'clock, 5 o'clock, or like 7.
Right.
So the times that people are looking, that's where I post on every platform. So just that is a lot of work in itself. You have to create the content. You have to come up with unique and different ideas. You always have to be changing it up.
Are you using like a scheduler yet?
No, you can't really use schedules for all those things.
No.
Like you could schedule certain things. Like you could schedule Facebook posts, but you can't schedule Instagram stories. You can't do that. You can't schedule TikTok stuff. And they do it with good reason. They want you to be engaging. They don't want to set it up and beat a machine.
Right.
But it's a lot, dude. It's a lot of work. You have to build your business to the point where you literally are building a media company of some sort, whether that be one person who you're outsourcing who comes in part-time or a team of, Gary Vee's got 30 people, dude.
Who does?
You know Gary Vee? Gary Vaynerchuk?
Yeah.
He's like the poster boy for this shit.
Right.
He has 30 people. 30.
That run his social media.
30 people that just are him.
That is crazy.
He has 30 people between camera people, doing written word, all that stuff. 30 people.
So this guy probably has like a $25,000 payroll per week.
Oh, he probably has $1 million a year payroll of people, but he uses it as a way to groom people for other clients and other businesses. And it's R&D. He tests all these things before he uses them on other clients. But you have realtors out there that are paying big money to advertise in penny savers and be on bus stops.
It's crazy
and all that shit.
when they're they'll literally spend all this money. I want to be on the front page of the South Bay paper in Massapequa. I want to show my listing. How many people are really looking at that thing now?
They're not anymore. They're not. This is, there's certain platforms. Depends on who your target market is. You have to say to yourself, who is my target market? And then figure out where they are. But everybody is on their phone, bro.
Everyone.
And COVID accelerated that.
100%. I mean, everybody was home. Everybody was looking at their phone all day long.
Without a
but
doubt.
these old, for me, I guess, with the older generation of realtors, I feel they're not going to learn social media. They don't want to, and
They have to,
but they don't even want to pay somebody to get them on the platforms.
because they're just not comfortable. They're not comfortable doing it. They're comfortable doing what they want. It really depends. Listen, if you're a realtor and you're going to be gone in the next 5 to 10 years, it doesn't really matter. You're on your way out anyway.
Right.
If you're somebody who's not, you have to do it.
Like if you're a
gonna
new
have
realtor,
problem.
you have to be on social media.
Or even not even that. Let's say you've been in the business for 20 years, and let's say you're 45 years old.
Right.
You need to make that transition, or you are not going to be doing.
You're going to get swallowed up.
You are going to get crushed.
Yeah.
Because the Dan O'Neills of the world, you guys are killing it on social media, and that's what it takes.
It does.
That's
now,
what it takes.
For realtors that are first getting into the game, realtors that have been in the game for 15 years that are 40 years old,
Yep.
what is the one suggestion that you would make to them on things that they should be doing to get their business, trying to get it to the next level where they maybe did 2 deals their first year and they're looking to get to the 8 or 10 for the next year?
I guess there's from a marketing standpoint, or what?
Overall, obviously marketing is going to be a big part of it. But if you were a brand new agent getting started right now,
If you're a brand new agent, you need to, and there's very few and far between, you need to, in my opinion, be on a team of people that really kick ass.
yeah, I think what we were talking about prior for you, when we were just chit chatting before, the whole broker thing is really becoming almost extinct.
They
A lot
don't
of
do
these
most of them don't do
brokers
shit for you.
Do shit. They don't offer you anything. They offer you, you come to the office, you use our printer. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
What are you bringing to the table that I'm going to be able to take myself to the next level?
100%.
I saw I had Peter Grosso, Pocket Pete, on the other day.
Love Pocket Pete.
And his voice, by the way, is superb for anything radio related.
Yeah. Or like phone sex line stuff.
Yeah, he can be some
9-100
kinky
number?
shit.
Yeah. I told him, I said, bro, there are millions of women
That'll
in
pay for
middle
that.
of America that just want you to whisper shit in their ear.
But other than his secret sexy voice,
Yes.
I saw he just did a gigantic green screen and he's doing marketing for
He's doing it.
he's doing it for in-house for his agents.
He's one of the few guys that's really providing value as a broker.
I've never seen a broker actually take it up to the next level.
Yep.
And I feel like at the end of the day, what's keeping all these agents with these brokers other than they have to put their license somewhere?
Yeah. 100%.
The
old way of doing stuff doesn't work. And eventually what happens, the market adjusts and somebody disrupts it. When you've I'll use abused for lack of a better word, but if you haven't, satisfied a need in a market for long enough, somebody does it. That's why I opened up the Captain Permit thing. I didn't want to do this. I had no desire to open up a permit business. I couldn't get my own permits done. It was a massive problem. I've been through every architect and every expediter. They suck.
So you just figured I got to do it myself.
And that's what happens all the time. Construction company, everything. Management company. I always end up doing these things and become vertically integrated because I can't find anybody to do it
The way you need it.
that I need it done.
Right.
And we have so much shit going on that we don't have time to wait.
Now, I was talking about all the shit you got going on. Obviously, I know you have no nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
So I know your dad works for you on that end.
My dad's involved in everything, yeah.
Did you ever think about bringing in agents on that end and becoming more on that, another source of income, another stream, would that benefit anything?
No.
Did that ever even cross your mind of something of interest or really not interested?
I researched the whole broker model. It's is this something that I want to do? And I went through broker metrics.
Okay.
When you go through broker metrics, you realize that literally 2.5% of all the agents make all the money. So 2.5% of all the agents of the 28,000 agents on Long Island. This is
Right.
what I saw. Half of them did no deals last year.
Just hold their license.
Yeah. Of the 28,000 agents, 2.5% of them gross $80,000 a year.
Okay.
So if you have only 2.5% of them are grossing $80,000 a year, gross commissions, how are you as a broker really making money?
Right.
And then when you become really busy and you have all the opportunities, your time is the most valuable thing.
Correct.
So it's what are you going to put your time into that I can't even say that yields the best return because it's not always about that.
Right.
It's what are you passionate about? I'm not passionate about building a brokerage.
So like for questions like I would have was, would you ever do it where you give like a retarded split where you literally are just a license holder where, you know, you could drop your license here. You have to pay, you know, your E&O insurance, so, you know, for protection, whatever. But literally I'll give you 95% or whatever the case may be. Literally, I cannot help you with a single thing. It's literally, if you want to go out, you run your own team and you're self-sufficient, you could hold your license here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against anything like that. It just it really depends. If it's for seasoned people, then and it's just a place for them to hang their license, then yeah. But if you have to help them, like I don't have time.
Yeah, you don't like. I have no. Don't ask me a single question. Like I'm not here as a broker to help you. You're gonna get a good split because you know what you're doing. Like don't bother me with a single thing.
Yes.
Straightforward.
Yes. Yeah. No. That that something like that. Yeah. But if you have to cultivate agents, like for me, if I was going to do the brokerage model, I would do it a totally different way. I would do it like similar now what Sirhan's coming out with, where I would charge brokers. There would be a real split, like you'd be paying in 20% or something like that.
Right.
But the amount of value that you would
He gives you
getting,
everything.
Yeah, we would have green screens, podcast studios. We would have camera guys and girls and editors on staff 24/7 for whatever you want to do. We would have insane people coming in every week, every 2 weeks, coaching, training.
Right, so you see that 20% is worth what type of value? What are you getting for that 20%?
For me in my head, I was like, I'm going to turn realtors into rock stars. So I'm going to turn excellent realtors into rock stars. So if you're making $100,000 a year, if you come here, you're going to be making $300,000 a year.
Right.
That would be my shtick. But I'm not passionate about that enough to give it everything I have.
Right.
You know, I have my trajectory of what I'm doing, and it's going there, and I'm happy with how it's going.
So obviously your main thing, you fix and flip to buy rentals. That's your spiel.
I fix and flip to buy rentals. We're doing big commercial development now. Also, they're in the process of doing big commercial development.
And that's what, like a big apartment complex you're talking, or just?
So I have 2 assisted living facilities that we're doing right now. A Starbucks. I'm working on a condo development. It's hopefully going to yield somewhere between 75 to 100 units. These things are all like approval processes.
Now, when you do these, obviously I know you don't do anything with partners, right? For the most part.
No, no.
So you always, you know, when you buy your houses, you use your investor money. You do your own thing. You take that money to go buy rental properties whenever the case arises.
Yep.
When you do these big commercial deals where you're going to have 75 units or whatever the case may be, are you still in it solely yourself?
So it depends on what it is. If depending on how you're structuring the deal, if you're building in enough equity, you don't need investors. If like on a condo deal, yes, I would bring in investors, something like that.
So other than like investor for like money, or I'm saying at the end of the day, once the project's complete, are you the sole owner?
Well, if it's a condo deal, we're selling the stuff.
Okay.
In a perfect world, what I like to do is be able to build it enough value where I'm the owner.
Okay.
Just sole owner.
Sole owner.
So a bunch of those projects, yeah. But there will be certain projects as I get bigger where you're going to need equity because there's not enough money in the world really. You always need more money.
Right.
So for that, you set up different waterfall structures. You get as the syndicator, you get a developer fee, a management fee.
Right.
You get a certain percentage of the profit. There are different hurdles. It's called a waterfall structure.
Okay.
And that's how those people can really make a lot of money.
Interesting. And would you rather get more into that field of the commercial end of doing like, you know, the assisted living stuff and all that type of things rather than the, you know, Mastic, Shirley, your hometown?
I really like it. I love Mastic, bro. It's going to be named after me one day.
Handsomeville?
I like doing it all. For me, I always need to up the bar. I need another level of action, of accomplishment. I need another challenge.
So you feel like you kind of crushed like the residential game, like you got that like pretty much on lock?
I do a lot of houses, but I never really ramped up all the marketing. So right now I'm ramping up all the marketing because I feel I can do like 200 houses a year. And I want to do it in the next couple of years.
Just to say you did it?
Just to be like, I did it, and I did it in the hardest place in the country. I don't give a shit what anybody says. New York, Long Island, there's no more land. You can't really build houses. It is super competitive. Everything is expensive. The municipalities are a fucking nightmare. It is very hard. If you could crush 200 houses a year here for
That's
real,
huge.
No one's doing that. You're the
Nobody.
best. So I want to do that to prove that to myself. At the same time, I have a bunch of big development deals, and I'll keep putting them in. That'll get stacked up in the pipeline because those things take years to come to fruition.
So basically, you're just at like trying to get like approvals and stuff like that before you could even put like a nail in the ground.
Exactly. So you have to go through this whole process in order to get approvals to do it. As I'm doing that, I'm going to, once those start to hit, I'm going to leverage that, do those deals, and then springboard into private equity. So like my 3 to 5 year plan is to open up a private equity fund.
So you want to be like a hard money lender?
No.
Is that a hard money lender?
Private
Totally
equity
different.
is like, do you know Blackstone?
Like settlement. You're doing settlement?
No. So private equity essentially, simply put, it's a giant pool of money that you can invest in anything you want. So I would go out to the police pension fund, and they would say, hey, listen, we have $300 million that we're looking to invest for our people's retirement fund. Great. I would go there. I would go to California and go to the teachers' retirement fund, and I would raise billions of dollars.
Okay.
And then we would have different funds set up. So we might joint venture with developers. We might have a real estate arm that buys property. We might have a market component that trades stocks.
So you become like the middleman to try to make money off their money.
Yeah. So and essentially with that kind of structure, it's a 2 and 20. So what that means is if I have $1 billion, I get a 2% management fee every year, and I get 20% of the profit, and there's usually like a hurdle. So we guarantee, let's say, a minimum of, let's say, 8%. So once we hit the 8% mark, I get
return for them.
Yes, we get it's called a pref or preferred return.
Okay.
Once they get their 8% return or whatever it is, we get 20% of whatever the profits are above and beyond that.
Interesting.
So that's what
That's a lot of shit. I'm just listening to that and just processing all that.
It's fucking awesome though. It's
great, but like I love that aspect of the whole game of that. I was like,
it's the pinnacle,
but it's crazy.
So that's why that's my end game. Although I realized not that long ago that the game never ends; that the show always goes on.
Oh, you like the game?
I like the game, but you're playing the game at that point on the absolute highest level.
So
that's it.
When are you trying to get there? Like what?
3 to 5 years.
And would you then kind of step back from the fix and flip residential stuff? That's at that point when you get at that level, that's your focus.
Exactly, because at that point you're raising billions of dollars.
Right.
You
have a lot of shit going on.
You have a lot of shit. You have different funds set up of people that are doing different things.
Right.
Like we could go out there and we could say, okay, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, we're going to buy $60 million worth of your non-performing mortgages, repackage them, sell them,
resell
get them perform. I mean, we could do anything. The sky's the limit. That's why I like private equity.
Gotcha.
But it is literally the pinnacle of the investment game. It doesn't get any higher.
It doesn't get
any higher.
Once you're there, you made it.
You've made it. Yes. That's like, if you want to live that life, that's like private jet, $50 million house in the Hamptons type of life.
Gotcha. And is that the goal? Like, is that where you want to get? Because obviously you own 80 some odd rental properties.
Yeah, I have like 85, 87, something like that I bought in the last 3 years.
So obviously with that passive income, and you obviously set yourself pretty well, I would assume. You obviously don't need to work if you really didn't want to at this point.
No, it all depends on the life you want to live. Like, so in theory, depending on the life I want to live, I don't need to work anymore. I could I could literally stop. I could have a kid tomorrow, hang out with him or her all day, every day, and live a very happy life.
You just want more.
But that's not what I do. That's not why I do
You're
it.
wired different.
That's what it is. Like, I'm sitting here, I always tell people, I laugh at them, I'm wearing like $40 worth of Gap clothes. Like, my girlfriend bought me this sweatshirt on sale. I've had these same pair of pants that I bought at the Gap for $40 for like the last 5 years. I'm literally like wearing holes through them. $40 Vans. I don't care.
Yeah, you're not the flashy. Some people they need that Rolex watch. They need to be driving the nice car.
Yeah, that's why they're doing it. My motivation for this is strictly, I like to play the game. I like to play the game.
I like that.
I like to play the game on the highest level with the best people and see what I'm made out of.
So the 5-year plan.
That's the 5-year plan.
Is to get there. And what about Captain Permit? Is that really just kind of like your baby that you use for yourself, and if it grows into something, it grows? Or
well, I like starting businesses. I like that. I think Captain Permit. I know Captain Permit is going to grow into a really big thing. My brother-in-law is in school to become an architect.
Interesting.
So that's
coincide together.
So him and our COO, Mike, who's amazing, who runs Captain Permit, the two of them, like when I get to that point, they just
take over and
they'll take that.
And you'll take that.
And that'll be their thing.
That's awesome.
So it's cool. It's great. The most rewarding thing about being successful is being able to provide opportunity for people that you care about.
Yeah. I mean, what is it all about? The long-term generational wealth, you always say? Your kids.
Yes. The rental properties, that's what it does. But in the short term, being able to, like my foreman, Leo, who's like my day one dude, we've done over 300 houses together. He was there literally on the first project.
And he's been your main guy?
Ever since. He's been on from the first one. So he said to me one day.
You got to hate you.
No.
All the shit that you put him in.
No, it's funny because people think that, I'm the boss, he follows me. I follow him.
Oh, I'm talking about more for the total shitholes that you must bring him to.
No,
he must be
he's
like another one.
We did that house in Uniondale that had the bathtub filled with human shit, and he went in there like a rock star and just shoveled it into bags and threw it out. Like, that dude is steel. He is my guy.
That is absolutely incredible.
But it's funny again because I don't know anything about construction. Like, I don't even know how to hammer a nail. So I just walk in and I'm like, let's do this, and he does it. So when he tells me, cool, let's do it, we do it. When he tells me it's not a good idea, we don't. So
how different is it than everybody sees on TV when you see fix and flip? It's not even close.
No, it's not even close.
Not even close.
Not even close. It's not even in the same ballpark. The content that we put out on a daily basis is 100%
real.
What it is all the time. Fuck the trying to create artificial drama for nonsense. There's enough drama every day with all the stuff that goes on, but that's what it is.
So, we'll end on this. People, obviously, when they see stuff that you're doing, a lot of people, they want to learn, but they want to learn for the wrong reasons because they see the money. They just want the money. They don't really like doing flips. I think they're more interested in the money. Mm-hmm. But then a lot of people want the money because they want to buy rentals. Mm-hmm. How do you think the rental market is with everything going on in the world right now? Are you buying rentals still? Like single family, like resident, are you still able to find them right now? Like, are you able to have enough equity where you could pull out your investment and still
there's always
make
opportunity.
$500 a month or whatever the case may be?
There's always opportunity. There really is. There's always opportunity.
I guess let me rephrase it. In areas that the first time flipper would probably be more comfortable in, your Levittowns, your Wantos, your Seafords, your Massapequas, compared to the Shirleys, the Mastics, the center reaches that everybody's kind of going more and more east.
I mean, typically rentals don't perform as well there as they do in some of the areas where the property values are a lot less because the rent, let's say, so on a 4-bedroom, Section 8 is going to pay me $2,600.
And you focus on more like rentals, CDC, Section 8.
I do a lot of government tenant stuff. I have everything, but I do a lot of government tenant stuff. So let's say I have a 4-bedroom house in Bellport that I bought for $50,000 and I'm getting $2,600 a month there and the tax is $3,500 a year. If you buy a 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom in Syosset, you're going to rent that thing for, let's say, $4,000.
Right.
But the taxes are $15,000 and you paid $500,000 for it. It just doesn't make sense.
The risk reward,
the ROI is not there. The return's not there. So the rents aren't that much greater for the more expensive property compared to how much. Like, you're going to spend 10 times as much to buy the property and have 5 times as high of carrying costs, but your rent is only going to be 50% higher than mine.
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So that's why it typically works a lot better in areas like that.
That are cheaper, taxes are cheaper, everything's just cheaper.
Everything's just cheaper, and the rents are not that much cheaper percentage-wise. That's where it really works.
Because you're kind of getting the same rent, but your bills on the front end are half the price.
Or the other alternative is if you can get it cheap enough and then add in enough value. There's 2 ways there's a bunch of different ways investors make money on rentals. There's the equity that they build equity in by doing the renovation.
Right.
But they can realize that at different times. There's cash flow that you're getting every month, and then there's what's called the IRR of internal rate of return, which is essentially when you sell the property, how much did you make discounted back to day one on an annual basis.
Okay.
Right? So I'll give you an example. Let's say you're buying a property and you're renting it, but you're only making 4% on your money, 5% of your money. It's not a lot.
Right.
But you built in so much value that you have like 30% equity in the property. So when you sell it, you make like $100,000 or $200,000 a year, and that 5% that you were getting every year,
right,
ends up jumping up to like 18% when you average it out.
What you made over the whole thing.
And you include the sale.
Gotcha.
So there are investors that are IRR driven, where they're looking for that return down the road when they sell it.
So they're looking to cash out on the back end rather than...
And that's when they're going to get it. There's people that want a blended mix of both, like I do. And then there's people that just want cash flow.
So you look for both. You kind of look for both.
For me, I want both. I want a decent amount of cash flow, and I want to...
So what is a decent amount of cash flow in the Handsome's eyes?
It really depends. Like, you have to compare that to other things that are available. So I'll give you an example. Let's say if I have money and I'm going to lend it to somebody,
okay,
I can lend it at 10, 12, 15% and not do anything.
Right.
Just... Now, if I'm going to buy a rental and I'm going to have to deal with management and renovating and all that stuff, I need to be rewarded for that, so I need a better return. How much of a return depends on people. Like I said, like my mentor is really cool with getting, if he had 30% equity in a property and he was only making 4%, he's cool with that. There's some guys that are like, I want 15% and I don't care if I have like 5 or 8% equity. They don't care. Depends on your tax ramifications, what you're looking to do. Because obviously you shelter a lot of those gains, all of them, if not most of them, with depreciation. So you're not paying taxes on that money.
Right.
So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. And everyone's idea of a good investment is different.
Right, because you hear some people always say, oh, I want to buy this house if I could, build in some equity and I can make $500 a month after everything's paid. And they're like, they just put a number, they don't have a percentage. They're just like, if I could clear 500, if I can clear 750, if I can clear 1,000, I buy it.
Because they don't know what they're doing. They don't have the education to realize that it's not dollar amount driven, it's percentage driven. If I'm getting 500 and you're getting 500, are we even if my return is 50% and your return is 3%?
Right.
Doesn't make sense.
Right.
So that's why you need the training, and you just have to put the time in to do it the right way.
So if everybody likes what they hear and they have questions,
Yes.
how do they get a hold of you? If they need permits, anything related,
My text platform number out again.
how do they get a hold of you for everything? If they have a shit-smelling cat pissed on,
Yes.
how do they get a hold of you?
They have a shit-smelling, cat-pissed house. They're going to call Josh Handler, and then he's going to give it to me, and then he's going to relist it for me once I'm done, because nobody's face looks better on a sign next to a Handsome project than his. But I am everywhere. I'm Instagram, Handsome_Homebuyer, Twitter, TikTok. You could text me on the text platform, 516-871-3511. Just Google my name. I will haunt your dreams. I am everywhere.
You heard it here first. He's going to haunt you. Give him a call. Again, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. If you're looking to sell your home, obviously you can give me a call, 516-732-6398, and thanks for coming.